This is I Love Black People Radio on H.U.R. Voices, Sirius XM Channel 141. I Love Black People is more than a radio show. I Love Black People is a call from our ancestors to protect us from racial profiling all across the world. Go to iloveblackpeople.com and become a member today. Membership empowers you to live fearlessly and protect Black people globally from racism and xenophobia. Join us today and become a member of our global network with an online global green book with Black-owned and Black-friendly businesses to protect you and your community. Membership is free, and with you, we will become 10 million strong worldwide. I am because we are.
And welcome to another edition of I Love Black People. Thank you for joining us on this journey. But without further ado, I have my brother, your brother, good brother, Ernest Robinson. Welcome to I Love Black People. Thank you, brother. Walk through some of the steps you took to kind of recount our journey in the civil rights movement. And, you know, you talk about our enemies abroad or the conflicts abroad. I don't know how many of them are really enemies or not, but then our conflicts domestically. I think this is a good way to tie it together because they said in World War II, they said Black folks had to fight for two victories abroad and victories at home. And as much as you've done to represent our community and make sure we were respected as a people within the context of these militaries and services, you actually recounted the steps of our brothers and sisters who served domestically to make sure we were respected as a great treat to a wonderful matrimonial marriage. Give us the latest greatest, Brother Robinson.
Okay, so I leave active duty in 2005. Tried to go play the professional football. Had not gone to college. 2007, I go to college. I go to Virginia Union University, which is, for those who don't know, historically Black college and university in Richmond, Virginia. You are a alum of HBCUs, plural, Tuskegee man, and a Howard Bison. Wonder what that tiger and bison combination look like, but you know, but I think it's almost reflected in your personality, your toughness, sternness, and your aggression. But smart Black man. But anyways, the reason why I said that was because that's actually where I actually met my wife.
Oh wow! I didn't know. Okay, great.
Yeah, we met at Virginia Union University in 2007. I was there playing football, and she was a freshman, and standing in line. So the football team was doing like move-in day, like we always do. You know, help freshmen move in, stuff like that, whatever. And we had just got our jerseys and we were walking through the halls, and she was with her mom, getting ready to get like their room key for her room or something like that or whatever, registering for something. And so she saw me, and then her friends, so I've always been kind of a lone type person. Like I have to kind of do my own thing. Like I was in there focused. Like my job is to go in there, go to school, play ball, go to the NFL. That was my thing. So I would sit, eat, whatever case may be. So her friends saw me and they came together like, hey, what's your name? I was like, my name is Ernest. All right. Hey, Ernest. Hey, E, this is T. This is our girl T from Philly, because she's from Philadelphia. So Tierra Robinson now, but Tierra Johnson. And we connected from there. Unfortunately, like going to any other private school, and dealing with HBCUs, she couldn't afford to stay. So she wound up having to leave. But we stayed in contact with one another. She finished her college, got her bachelor's degree from IUP, and her master's in mental health from Temple University. And she's currently right now working on her LPC hours, and she's a a crisis. She works for the Emergency Services Board in one of the counties here in Virginia. She's done substance abuse. She's been an opiate counselor. She's done drug court, family court. She's amazing and loves Black people. So it's that she really has a soft spot for that. So we stayed connected over the years. I had gotten married, had a child, got divorced, still got my baby girl. But me and the mother didn't work out, and we were able to on August 26th, we got married, and it was a wonderful wedding. There were some very special people that I wish were in attendance, but I understand that some people couldn't make it.
All right. My plane was stranded. Having propeller problems.
Hey, whoa! For the record, I said nobody's name.
All right.
But they said if you throw a rock, the only people who want to say anything, people get hit. There were several people for several reasons that could not make it, and I most certainly understand. What's most important to me is that you and your bride were able to do the things that you were able to do safely. And we're able to fellowship here today together. So anyways, because of COVID and everything that's going on, I wasn't really necessarily enamored about trying to go like out of the country and stuff like that. Even though going out of the country was offered to me, there was a villa that was offered to me, and I was like, nah, let's not do that. Don't know what the rules going to be. But me and my wife are both enthusiasts of our people and our history. And so what and because I do leadership and professional development, I oftentimes will go around the country and speak at different places. And she's like, oh, I want to go. Oh, I want to go. And so it's like, okay, well, for our anniversary, I said, well, let's put together.
Honeymoon.
Yes. For our honeymoon.
Hey, look, I'm glad though you're looking in the future. I like that.
Yeah. For our honeymoon, let's put together a Black History tour. She was not with it at first because that's not the beach. That's not what you drink that women dream of. Like who wants to drive in a car around the country saying the historical sites. But the more that I talked about it, and the more she shared it, like with her girlfriends, like, yeah, we're going to go to the Legacy Museum in Montgomery, and we're going to go to the Pettis Bridge in Selma. And they're like, oh, wow, that's so cool. So now it becomes this unique thing that she's like, okay, yeah, let's do this. So we go to Atlanta. We had already been to Dr. King's home that's down there. We had already been to the church. I actually did my walk. I actually walked from Atlanta to Richmond back in 2014. I can tell you about that at another time. But that was a journey in itself. First stop that we did was Montgomery. That was also a place where Dr. King lived and preached in Montgomery. And for those who remember the bus boycotts that took place in Montgomery. But some of because of COVID, some of the museums closed early. This is actually during the time that Ida was also en route to the Gulf Coast. So this was also another interesting time to be there, and especially when you're talking about on the precipice of the anniversary of Katrina. That took place in New Orleans with another hurricane. So we leave from Montgomery and then we go to Selma, Alabama, to cross over the Pettis Bridge. Now I'm sure you're aware that it was supposed to be renamed the John Lewis Bridge. Are you aware that it will not be named the John Lewis Bridge?
No, I didn't.
Yes. So I went to go speak to the curator, and he said that John Lewis actually requested before he passed for it not to be renamed. The purpose in not renaming the bridge is because he did not want the significance of what they did crossing that bridge to be erased. 50 years, 60 years, 100 years from now, if it's named the John Lewis Bridge, then no one's going to understand the significance behind why they crossed over that bridge. Why am I questioning it? John Lewis is a great man. John Lewis was a congressman. Why am I questioning, them crossing this particular bridge? So he didn't want that to happen. Now, what I will publicly say here, what I told the curator, and hopefully he's already gotten this back, is I said, and I don't know why no one thought of this, rename the street. Rename the street that crosses over the bridge. Signify the spot, the historical site, as a spot where they prayed before crossing the bridge. So that way you're able to honor his wishes of not changing the name of the bridge. You're able to honor John Lewis. And then also because, as we know, white people who control, a lot of places, they're not going to be so ready to change names of streets and stuff like that because of GPS and other value, whatever the case may be. But if you just rename the top of the street, like Chuck Brown in DC has Chuck Brown Way right there off of Georgia Avenue, and where Georgia Avenue and 7th Street meets. But it's just called Chuck Brown Way. So anyways, I suggested that hopefully they do that. But the gravity of being in an area where, people were beaten just for trying to cross the street, So we leave from there. We stay in Selma. No, we don't stay in Selma. We drive to Jackson, Mississippi. And Mississippi is never a place that I never wanted to travel to. I watched Ghost in Mississippi, Burning Mississippi. Most civil rights movies that happened in Mississippi, there was nothing good going on in Mississippi. But we wanted to go to Medgar Evers' home. And so we did. And to be in the driveway where he was slain at, standing in his carport, remembering Ghost of Mississippi, where, the scene where Whoopi Goldberg, rushes out the house and, screaming for her husband, his children, is, asking their, pleading for their father to get up. And, that's, just how heavy that is, and how.
And the house is still there in the neighborhood?
House is still there. Same color, same carport, same bricks. Nothing was ever done to the home. Nothing, there was no damage to the home. Tougaloo College has the rights to the home, and so preserves it. It is a National Historic Site.
Gotcha.
So we did visit Tougaloo College, and then we also visited Jackson State, which is right down about 10 minutes from Tougaloo. But those are where a lot of the NAACP field offices were. So for those who are not as familiar with Medgar Evers, he was one of the field secretaries in Jackson, which was responsible for a lot of the voter registration, voter education, voter mobilization.
Hold on. We're getting close to the end. Good brother Roberts, you better get that. Look, I know you took that honeymoon a long ways, but we gotta go ahead and get there.
Oh yeah, brother. So we leave from there. We go to Margaritaville. That's just for us. We go to Tulsa, Oklahoma, to go to Black Wall Street. And again, the reason why I just want to be respectful.
Hold on, you drove from Mississippi to Oklahoma?
No, we drove from Mississippi to Margaritaville, which is near Shreveport, Louisiana. Then drove from Shreveport to Tulsa, Oklahoma. which is about another 6 hours.
She loves you, boy. That's that woman love you. Got the right one. That's
Well, the hurricane was also heading the same direction, so we were supposed to leave from Shreveport and drive back home. But so going home, we were going to drive through the whole hurricane.
Oh wow!
So it was like, well, we're not going to stay in another resort for another night. And Tulsa is 6 hours away. We're not doing anything, so let's just drive up there.
Go ahead.
So in addition to this being the 20th anniversary for 9/11, this is the 100th anniversary for Tulsa.
Wow. Go ahead, break it
and
down.
So it was, that was the part that I hit home for her, was like, we weren't there 100 years ago, but we're here 100 years later. And I think for all of us who's been in Black fraternities or sororities who have made it to 100 years, we understand how powerful that actually is. But then to be on the grounds again and listening to the stories, I listened to how, the story of the Black man who kind of bumped into the white woman and everything else, and which is kind of what started it. But much like those who are familiar with Rosewood, that took place in 1923, and as well as Tulsa and in many other areas around the country where Black people were very prominent, rich. We're talking about millions of dollars, in context of the 1920s, where white people were just that upset. Listening to stories of veterans who had just fought in World War I. Mind you, that took place in 1919, and these are veterans who are coming back, who had their uniform, stood out, put their uniform on, stand at the position of attention to protect their homes, and they were shot down. And so for myself who have served, your father who has served, my father, my grandfather, for them to still be like, again, the skin is so much more powerful than what the uniform or the symbol represents. It meant nothing to them. Your success as a Black man, a Black person, a Black family was your weapon against them. And it was so sad to see that there was $2.7 million in claims that went ignored or denied. One young lady who made a claim of $157,000. Now you're talking about 1921. $157,000 is a lot today. Yes, right now.
Right now.
Yeah, right now it's a lot. $157,000 in 1921. Yeah. But the crazy thing is, many of us still support some of these companies still to this day. And we had no idea. Right. So we leave from Tulsa. So as I'm mapping out, so Hurricane Ida is moved on, and we are getting ready to head back home. So it's a 17 and a half hour drive from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma is flat, like dreary. I mean, God bless them, but that's a tough, like, some mountains and trees, but Oklahoma was some of the flattest land I ever. Woo, God, Jesus.
So you're driving across not only Oklahoma but Arkansas.
Arkansas, yeah, right,
as well. Yeah, and then into Tennessee. But we're on the west, the very beginning of Tennessee.
Okay.
Which is where Memphis is at.
Right.
And the Lorraine Motel.
Go ahead. Okay.
So we went to the Lorraine Motel.
Is it open or is it just a tourist place?
So it is open. It's a museum. It's a whole museum. So they preserved the hotel, and then like on the back end of the hotel, they created an actual museum. So everything is kind of shielded off. Okay. In the front, they actually have the replicas of the two vehicles that were actually parked in front of the Lorraine Motel. I got some pictures I can share with you and stuff like that. So we went there, and then we went to a slave haven.
Who?
A slave haven. So a part of so everyone talks about the Underground Railroad, and how it actually, with Harriet Tubman and everything else. But there were many, many, many people who were a part of this. So there was a gentleman, I think his last name was Buckle. He actually bought land, not land. Yeah, he bought land and a house. He's is the Burkle state, excuse me. But anyways, he's a German. So in Germany, in the late 1800s, there was a lot of oppression that was still going on there as well. He left from there to come to the United States, found out that it was happening here, right? But he was a white man, and so he was able to, buy stuff and build businesses and stuff like that. But what he did, he turned his estate into a slave haven where he helped slaves escape. His home, because of Memphis, where Memphis is at, is near on the Mississippi River. And so the Mississippi River follows up to the Ohio River. The Ohio River is where slaves were able to make it into Canada. Okay, and so when you which became more important because when they had the Slave Fugitive Acts, that they were able to retrieve slaves or freed slaves from the free states, because that's what it was. You make it up to the free states, you're home free. Well, when they got the Slave Fugitive Acts, well, now they put bounties on you and they can bring you back into the slave states. And so the only real safe place to go was to Canada. So what he did was to make the persona of a Southern gentleman. He preserved but he bought 2 slaves so they can have on his property, because any respecting Southern gentleman has slaves. But he had all these holes that were under these crawl spaces, so that you can crawl under the home into the cellar, and then he can wait, and then make whatever that you need to do, and to get the people up the street. Are you familiar with the black jockeys?
No.
So the black jockeys that the statues,
out in front of the house,
out in front of the house. That was actually, those were symbols to slaves. Did you know that?
No.
So the way that the jockeys were actually used, so the lantern, if the light was on, that meant it was a safe house that could take you in. If it was out, that meant that it wasn't safe for you to being able to come. And if it was pointed in a certain direction, if it were to have certain clothing, certain patterns on the clothes that it was decorated with, were all symbols to give off messages that this is a place that you could come, but it had certain times or certain places that you needed to go first before you actually got there. So it's been twisted in so many ways over years and taken out of context, but it was actually a pivotal thing that actually helped slaves, help anybody who was a part of freeing slaves to communicate without having to say anything.
That's
and then get anything away. So anyways, we wound up making our way back, but having gone through all of those different steps and seeing the history kind of play all the way out. When we talk about the importance of 1619, we went back to 1621 and we come back to 2021. The simple fact that today we still have to be conscious of what we look like when we go to places. In Mississippi, there's still sundown sundown rules.
Rules. Well, look. The next time you do the trip, or it's still now, you need to get on the I Love Black People platform, our website, iloveblackpeople.com, and put some of those nice places that you ate, nice places that you stayed, and nice places that you got gas that they didn't trip on you. We got to wrap it on up. What would be your last words on? I love how you started tying it up about the fact that white supremacy ideology, racism is still alive. What as you head off to your next new journey? What's the words you want to leave us with, good brother Ernest?
Well, I'll say this, because after being able to work with you, being able to share in your wisdom, but being able to see how powerful our people are. And even our allies. We have to give a lot of credit to a lot of people who put in a lot of work and risk their lives to being able to do it. One thing I will sit there and say is that life is a gift from God. The way that you live your life is your gift to God. And so, I just implore everyone to be the very best of themselves, give of themselves, and don't waste any time.
All right, and be that gift, be that present. All right. Well, look, thank you, good brother Ernest. I know this won't be the last time, and I'm glad to get you on here. You're definitely the first 1911 United full-blooded member to be on board. So they better hurry up and catch up with brother Ernest. And thank you for your support over all these years and your dedication and your wisdom and your stick-to-itiveness. And I know I can be difficult, so thank God for you. In spite of my difficulties, you being so supportive. And to all the folks that support us, as we always leave out, I am because we are.
This is I Love Black People Radio on H.U.R. Voices, Sirius XM Channel 141. I Love Black People is more than a radio show. I Love Black People is a call from our ancestors to protect us from racial profiling all across the world. Go to iloveblackpeople.com and become a member today. Membership empowers you to live fearlessly and protect Black people globally from racism and xenophobia. Join us today and become a member of our global network with an online global green book with Black-owned and Black-friendly businesses to protect you and your community. Membership is free, and with you, we will become 10 million strong worldwide. I am because we are. Special thanks to Banneker Communities.